Welcome to Connie's Truffle House. Thank you for being here. It is another day in Connie's kitchen, and as you know, I love aprons. Check out my apron today. It's from Harrods in London, one of my favorite places in the world, one of my favorite cities in the world. So I have brought out a few of my favorite things from London. I love England. I love the royal family. I love it all. I got the phone booth, the eyewitness, Wedgwood, a little duplicate, a little cute little thing of what the streets look like. But not only are we celebrating Harrods today, we're celebrating one of my favorite things in the world. Now, those who know me well, you know it is chocolate. And I love everything chocolate. This looks like a great big old chocolate bar. It's an awesome cookbook. I love the tea towel that a dear friend gave me, Le Chocolat. The little Dutch house, chocolatier, and the books. And then this is one of my favorite things for entertaining.
I love that.
It's my chocolate tray. And I don't believe I've ever entertained or had a party without chocolate. Right, Chris?
Right.
If I ever do, take me out and shoot me, kid.
All right, kid.
Because that is not a good party.
That is
without
not a
chocolate.
Connie Nelson.
So let me tell you what we're going to do today. I love cookies. But you know I have celiac, everything has to be gluten-free, and I tell you what, it's very, very challenging to find a delicious gluten-free chocolate cookie. It took me a long time to develop this cookie. This little folder is full of all my notes over probably 7 years of experimentation. So I've got it down here, and I'm going to show you today how we make them. Now, up front, I'm not listing the ingredients because there are too many to show you on a little cardboard or a little chalkboard. But Kristen's going to have the ingredients on a website that you'll have a link to go to the blog, okay?
In the description.
In the description. Thank you, Kristen.
You're welcome, Mom.
Alrighty, so let me show you what we've got going here. The very first thing you do when you're making these cookies, I call them my flourless chocolate cookies with egg whites. It's a very fancy name, but it's very exact, all right? You start off with mixing 3 cups of the powdered sugar. Now, if you want to, you can sift this. I didn't, just to save time. I've got to tell you something about the next ingredient. It is unsweetened cocoa, which you're very familiar with the standard cocoa. I won't name the brand because that might be tacky. It's very good, but I tell you what, this might kill the budget, but it's worth every penny. This Scharfen Burger unsweetened natural cocoa powder is the very best thing in the world for any dessert that calls for cocoa powder. I've used the other many, many, many years until I discovered this, and I couldn't believe the difference. You can sift it just like the powdered sugar. You pour this into one bowl, and then this is coarse salt that I got out of my little French salt thing over here. That's about a ½ teaspoon of coarse salt. I wouldn't use iodized regular table salt. This will just give it a little bit more of a kick.
All right.
Cornstarch is what I use instead of flour. This is about 4 teaspoons of cornstarch, okay? So all that goes in a bowl. You know what, we could mix it up a little bit here in the bowl, just kind of sift it together. Now if you have time, you can do this at home. What I usually do is I put out a big thing of wax paper, and I sift over the wax paper, and then I funnel it into the bowl. So we're going to try to do this without making a huge mess, losing any of this wonderful mixture of powdered sugar, also that's called confectioner sugar, the unsweetened cocoa powder, salt, and cornstarch. Now, if you don't have a problem with gluten, you can use flour. And I have not developed a recipe using flour, so I don't know the measurements. So you're on your own if you want flour.
You're on your
But
own, yeah.
I tell you what, friends, I think you're going to be impressed. Oh, you're not here. But if you make this at home, I think you're going to like it. Now, we've got the dry ingredients in here. What I did before Kristen started filming to save time, because we don't want this to be an hour and a half long show because you'll all be sleeping out there, is that I already whisked together 4 egg whites at room temperature. Very important that your eggs are at room temperature. Anytime you're baking, room temperature eggs. So 4 egg whites were in this bowl. This had a teaspoon of vanilla that I whisked with the egg whites. Now another little tip, kind of like my awesome unsweetened cocoa powder, get good vanilla. It costs a little bit more. It makes a big difference. Don't buy imitation vanilla extract. The organic's very good. Madagascar's famous for their vanilla. I always do this. I know it's a little bit of a budget concern, but if you can take some money out of another, put it toward these 2 products, these 2 ingredients, it'll change your life. So we got this. Okay, let me grab the egg whites.
Okay.
I've had them in the fridge. And now we are going to do the fun part.
Okay.
So, these are the egg whites that I already whisked.
Oh, nice.
Okay, with the vanilla, that's why it's got that pretty color. I'm gonna put them, kind of do a little bit more whisking because they've been sitting in the fridge. Put that in with the dry ingredients. Now the thing for you out there, my dears, if you have cooked and baked with cocoa and powdered sugar before, you know what's getting ready to happen right here? You could have a cloud of cocoa powder and powdered sugar. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do a little bit of mixing first, because as soon as this paddle goes in, we're gonna have a little dust storm. And we don't want that. Yeah, so look at that, look at that. Just kind of getting it started. Let's just get it started. And what I do sometimes, friends, is that I just use a towel to go over the mixer so I don't lose a lot of it coming out, all right? Did you see this? That was so cute. It was my red spatula that says I love desserts.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
All right, so we're gonna put this in like that. Gonna get it started. So far, so good.
Nice.
Okay, now the thing about this cookie recipe, my gluten-free chocolate cookies with egg whites, don't overmix.
Okay.
Don't, you know, if you've made chocolate chip cookies the old-fashioned way, the Toll
From
House,
scratch.
they say don't overmix.
Oh, they do.
And surprise, they do.
My bad.
Okay, let's see how this looks. Let's kind of bring it down off the edges, okay? Get down all those yummy bits right there. Come around. And it gets very stiff.
Okay.
Now, some people, if you're gonna make this at home, which I really hope you will, try it, you might think, there's not enough liquid. She left something out. This is way too stiff. No, it's a stiff dough. It's a very stiff dough. Look at that, hun.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't look all that great in the bowl, but that's the way it is supposed
so
to
that's the
look.
right consistency?
Yep,
Okay.
it sure is. But the mixer doesn't always get down to the bottom. And I've got a KitchenAid that I got in about 74. So sometimes you just have to take the spatula and with good old elbow grease, maybe that's why I've got tennis elbow, because I don't play tennis. All right, so you just keep going around like that.
All that.
Mix it up underneath, bring it up, and it's almost like heavy duty folding.
Okay.
Okay, get the bits off the edge, come around. Now we're going to try one more time. Okay,
Oh, that looks pretty thick.
yeah, it is thick.
Okay.
It is thick, thick, thick. Let's put it back in here. Okay, a little bit more, not much, done.
Okay.
Now what we're going to do with this, which I
Lick
may
it?
not do on camera, maybe I will, who cares? Y'all know me. All right, we're going to get all this stuff off, and then I'm going to take my finger, go like that, it was clean, and put all that into the bowl, because, hey, listen, this is what I call, when the camera goes off, we're over at the sink. I'll go
Go for
wash
it, Mama.
Mm.
This is real life, people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's very, very good. I got to wash my hands real quick. Don't go away. I don't have a sink over there. All righty. So, we didn't make a mess with everything flying out. Now, the next part to this yummy, yummy cookie recipe is the chocolate I'm using. I don't like to stick with just one chocolate. Now, I'll tell you what. If you like bittersweet chocolate, add bittersweet chocolate chunks to this, and it will be awesome. I'm not a huge fan of bittersweet. I will use it, but I'll cut it with some other chocolate. So what I'm going to use today, I've got 1 full bar of this Lindt dark chocolate with sea salt, chopped up. And isn't this cute?
I love that. Where'd you
Isn't
get
this
that?
great? I got it online.
Oh, nice.
And it's a cutting board that you can use as a funnel.
I love that.
And this is a colander, so you can chop up broccoli, rinse it, and then pour it in. So I'm pouring in 1 whole bar, 3.5 ounce, into there. And then I'm going to mix it up with semi-sweet and milk chocolate. A little bit like that.
All right, we're right at the 11-minute marker.
Okay.
You're doing great.
This is 2 cups of chopped pecans. Might be a bit much, but let's just put in about half. And now, let's stir it together. Okay, check it out. It is tough to stir. This is going to be a very chewy, moist cookie when it's done. This is going to be like almost like a brownie cookie. Okay, look at it.
Cookies.
See, hun?
Yeah, that looks good.
Okay, it's kind of messy. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to scoop it on to the cookie sheet,
Okay.
which is lined with parchment paper. Parchment paper is awesome because it really saves on the cleaning. But because this cookie does not have butter in it, I did use Crisco, and I went over it with a paper towel with Crisco.
Okay.
So we're not going to have a problem with it sticking, okay? So now, I love using the miniature ice cream scoop for so many things. It's perfect for, now if you want a huge cookie, you want a great big old one that kind of like you see at the mall, you can use a big one.
Okay.
But I really like this. And the reason I use a scoop like this is that unlike my truffles where they're not uniform in size, when you're baking cookies, they need to be uniform because they need to bake at the same time, okay? So we're gonna put a scoop on there like that. And we may not finish this, we may turn it off.
Okay.
I don't have to fill up the whole sheet, you get the idea, okay? So we've got, you can see what we got going here. Alrighty, we're going to stop now so that you don't give up on us and leave. But when we come back, these are going to be out of the oven, they're going to be cooled, and then we will enjoy tasting them in front of you. But I did want to show you one thing. When I get these out of the oven, because you may not be here when I get them out of the oven, look at some of my favorite.
I love how worn those are.
These are some of my favorite oven mitts. Don't tell Starla, because I love hers too. But these have been around the world. Now, I try not to use this one with my get it out of the oven hand, because that would be,
That hurt.
it would hurt. It'd be painful. But, okay.
All right.
Thank you for being here. We're going to pause. We're going to regroup after these come out of the oven, and then we'll visit for a minute. Love y'all. Come back. And friends, they have cooled, and I've got to be honest with you, Kristen and I have sampled, and they'll change your life. They're delicious. What do you think, hon?
Amen, Mama.
Yeah, thank you, sister. All righty. I wanted to tell you a couple things that I failed to tell you before we took a break to bake the cookies. Temperature, rather important, 350 degrees. Time, 14 to 16 minutes. You know, that always kind of depends on how big your cookie is. Smaller cookie, you don't need quite as much time. These were a little bit fat. See how they didn't flatten out? That's nice, isn't it? These stayed in for about 14 minutes. I think that 15 would be good. And then they rested on the cookie sheet for a couple minutes just to kind of firm up. And then I took them off the cookie sheet and I put them on the cooling rack. And now they are just absolutely perfect. I'll tell you what I'm going to do in the morning. You know how I love my vanilla yogurt breakfast bowl? This is going to be the crumble topping on top. We're not doing granola tomorrow morning. We're doing the chocolate cookie. Yeah. So, Another thing Kristen asked me after we took a break and they were in the oven baking, she said, so Mama, why room temperature eggs? Very good question. If a recipe calls for room temperature eggs, they're doing that for a reason. And that's because if you're going to be whipping eggs, like whipping egg whites, whipping whole eggs, the volume increases when they're warm or when they're room temperature. So room temperature means 20 to 30 minutes, probably 30 minutes that they've been sitting out. Now, if you live in an igloo, they need longer. The house is kind of warm today. It's 100 degrees outside here in Austin. 20 to 30 minutes, that's fine. Now, another reason it's a good idea for room temperature eggs, you know, I love to make cheesecake, and we're going to do that one day together. Cheesecake has a ton of cream cheese, which is the fat of the cheesecake. If you were going to try to mix a cold egg into all that cream cheese, which the cream cheese needs to be softened to room temperature too, that cold egg is not going to incorporate with the cream cheese, could even look a little curdly, the texture could be off. So warm eggs into fat, like cream cheese, perfect. If the recipe doesn't say room temperature, you might be fine having them be cold straight from the fridge. I usually err on the side of having them not right out of the fridge. One more thing about egg whites. When you take your eggs out and you're going to be whipping egg whites, which is what we did for this recipe, as soon as the eggs come out of the fridge, separate them. If you separate the egg white from the yolk when it's room temperature, it's not going to work very well because the yolk is already soft and you're going to not have a nice firm yolk. You're going to get yolk into your egg white. So as soon as you bring the eggs out of the fridge, separate them, put the yolks back in, let your egg whites become room temp, and then when you're whipping them, the volume's going to be great. You see that when you're making meringues, angel food cake, souffles. So that's a little bit of a lesson on egg whites and eggs. You're welcome. And that was a very good question. So now what I think we need to do is taste these little treasures. Come here, little one. All righty. We have, now you can see they're not all uniform, but that's okay. That's how you know they're homemade. If they were all perfect, you'd say, okay, where'd you buy them?
We are technically tasting them for the second time.
Well, this is true, but we knew you'd want to watch. All right.
Thank you.
Pick yours. I'm going to pick mine. I'll pick an ugly one so that we give the pretty ones away.
Okay.
If we do give it away.
All right. I'm going to try this little one right here.
Yeah, good idea. Here it is. One thing we noticed when we tasted them the first time, maybe too many pecans.
Maybe.
So as you add the pecans and the chocolate bits, you might just test the batter. Don't dump the whole thing in. Okay, let's try.
Ready?
Ready?
Go for it. That was so good.
Can you talk with your mouth full?
Not really.
Friends, this is like a little taste of heaven in Austin, Texas, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Now these probably baked for about 15 minutes. They're gooey inside, they're very moist. It's almost like a cookie brownie with a little bit of a crunchy top.
Yeah, these are good. Okay, I can't finish because I've really had so much chocolate today.
And the problem with that?
Gotta pace myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Let's say goodbye. We've loved having you. Kristen and I are having so much fun.
We are.
I probably have chocolate on my teeth, so if she can Photoshop, she'll try to. But if not, you'll know that this is just the real us. Please come back. We are having so much fun. We've already got a plan for our next segment, and we're so excited to do this. And we're going to continue with a little bit of an international theme. It will be a new apron. Love y'all. Come back. Bye. Can't wait to see you again soon. Bye.